Hey guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana. And yes, I tried to stay out of the hobby drama, the hobby business side. I like to talk about cards, how much cards are worth, how to collect cards, how to set collect, Michael Jordan, things like that. But since I am a preeminent user of the PWCC Vault and a frequent visitor to the PWCC Weekly Auctions, Fixed Price Marketplace, and Premier Auctions, and I do a PWCC Premier Auction recap every Monday and once a month for the Premier, I do have to speak on, the elephant in the room, topic du jour in the hobby, which is that PWCC was recently acquired by Fanatics. I've got the article pulled up. Everybody saw it yesterday. I alluded to it. Again, I knew it was coming. I can't say that I knew for sure who was going to acquire it, but I knew bankruptcy was not in the mix. This video is going to be about what we know, what we think, and what I hope. Okay, so I've kind of made some bullet points. You guys know normally I don't write anything down. I just hit record and start screaming. But I wanted to make sure my thoughts were concise and clear and on point, and I don't want to overstate or guess or do anything like that. So let's start with what we know. Here's what we knew and know about the whole situation. PWCC is the best, in my opinion, PWCC is the best auction platform. It's got the easiest searchable sort items. It's the cleanest. The interface is the best looking. The selection is massive. It's a great place for me to buy and sell the Michael Jordan cards that I care about so much. There are pros and cons to other sales platforms out there: Golden, Heritage, eBay, MySlabs, IG, Facebook, ComC. There's a million other places. PWCC, to me, is the best sales platform to buy cards for sure, especially since I have usually funds sitting in my PWCC account. So that's one thing we know, is it's a great sales platform. They have the best tech, in my opinion, of any vaulting service in any sales platform. That's just my personal opinion. We know that their customer service, my experience with PWCC's customer service has always been absolutely exceptional, above and beyond, notwithstanding recent weeks since the mass layoffs, which is the next thing that we know. PWCC, while they are a great vaulting service, while they are a great sales platform to buy and sell your cards, while they have great technology, I think PWCC maybe smelled the money, got a little bit greedy, made some bad decisions as far as very aggressively lending money with cards or collectibles or memorabilia as the collateral, maybe at too high a loan-to-value percentage. When the market was at its peak, they were learning a certain LTV on those, collectibles as collateral loans. The value of those collectibles, as we know, has drastically decreased since peak 2021, when all these loans are starting to be made by card back loans, basically card collateral loans, and as a result of that, PWCC ran into what I understand to be extremely significant cash flow issues, where debts were looming, debts were growing. Cash flow, while there was cash flow, obviously, because they run a weekly auction where they're netting fees, their overhead became an issue. Basically, they were just a bloated company where debts were growing at a rate that may have exceeded cash flow, or to such an extent that they couldn't pay back their loans quickly enough. So long story short, PWC's got into cash flow issues. The debt was looming. The lender wasn't going to sit around forever. They tried to restructure it. It wasn't going to work. So I know a lot of people threw out the term bankruptcy, like, well, they're just going to declare bankruptcy. It doesn't work that way. They're a very attractive incubator for other potential big, deep pockets companies, namely three, right? Fanatics, Alt, and Collectors would all love to have acquired PWCC. So what else do we know? PWCC, like we said, let a lot of employees go. Unfortunately, They did that maybe, I don't know, I'm guessing maybe it's been 3 weeks or something like that. It feels like forever ago. Maybe it was 3 weeks ago, which set the hobby, a lot of people into a panic. I myself will be very transparent. I did communicate, I received a communication from collectors about moving all my stuff out of the vault into the collector's vault. It was a very impressive pitch. It was a very intelligent pitch. It was a very thoughtful pitch, and it is not a coincidence that the timing was the day after PWCC announced the termination of all those employees. I did have a Zoom meeting. I did explore that option. And I ultimately, after making a lot of phone calls, I did talk to Jesse Craig at PWCC. And I talked to a couple of other people whose collections and their asset value in the PWCC vault dwarf that of mine, and ultimately concluded that I was in okay shape to leave my stuff there because bankruptcy was never going to be an option because an offer was going to be made and a potential buyout. I was satisfied with the 3 potential parent companies that would acquire PWCC, and being Fanatics, Alt, or Collectors. I was fine with all 3 of those acquiring PWCC, and so I chose to ride it out and leave all of my stuff in the PWCC vault. I'm not sure what you guys decided to do. I know a lot of people did start to pull their stuff, and a lot of people hit the panic button. It wasn't a fun time. There was a little bit of anxiety involved, but ultimately the assets that are in the vault are not the assets of PWCC, so they would not have been subject to seizure or anything like that. I do think that maybe there would have been some delay in getting your assets out if you really wanted them. We've seen since the PWC, this is another thing we know, is since the termination of those employees to trim overhead to get back to a profitable status, the shipping has sucked with PWCC. The customer service has sucked with PWCC. Everybody's complained about that, and part of the reason is we're kind of spoiled because, in my opinion, or at least in my experience, shipping was on point. If you requested some stuff from your vault be shipped to your house, you got that tracking number the next day. If you sold something on eBay, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, with PWCC, it's in my vault in Oregon, but I sold it on eBay. I could initiate a shipment from PWCC and ship it to my eBay buyer, and it goes out the next day, and I could provide them with the tracking number, meeting the requirements of 3-day shipping, sending the tracking number on eBay. So I could sell vault items on PWCC through eBay, ship it straight from there, and it doesn't touch my hands, which was awesome. You just initiate a shipment, click, 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 boom, boom, you're done. We were so spoiled with the accessibility, the quick turnaround time, and the efficiency, at least in my experience, with the PWCC vault and the marketplace and the customer service, and that chat button in the bottom right for me has always been instantaneous, and it's always worked. It's been a disaster for the last 2 weeks, and it's got to be the fact that they trim so much overhead in the form of salaries / employees that they just don't have the manpower to provide the type of customer service that we've always been accustomed to. So that's another thing we know. PWCC has sucked over the last couple of weeks. We know Alt made an offer. We know Fanatics made an offer. Those are 2 things that we know happened. What do we think? Okay, those are things we know for a fact. Everything I've said so far is either my personal opinion or a fact, right? And I've tried to distinguish between the 2. What do I think? I think Collectors got in the mix as well. I've heard from enough reputable sources that Collectors got in the mix and made an offer as well. It was a very lucrative offer. It was a very attractive offer. Had Collectors ended up acquiring PWCC, they would have, I don't know if they would have merged the 2 platforms with the Golden and PWCC. I don't know how that would have worked if there had been one vault and all the cards would have been held in one. I have no idea because you've got 2 different locations for each vault. I don't know how that would have worked, so I'm not going to speculate on all that. But ultimately, what happened was Alt made an offer. Collectors made an attractive offer. Collectors was going to be the offer that PWCC was going to accept. But then Fanatics came in one more time and made an FU offer, which basically was contingent upon PWCC not shopping Fanatics' last, best, and final offer back to Collectors. In other words, Fanatics says, we're going to make you one offer, but part of the condition of this is that you don't shop it back to collectors and look for them to match it. And ultimately, it sounds like Fanatics won out. PWCC accepted that offer, and that's where we are today. Okay, we don't really have. I don't have any personal knowledge of how things are going to work going forward. So let me give you another list of things that we think are going to happen, and then we'll talk about the things that I hope are going to happen. So another thing that we think is that this will solve the money problem. Okay, Fanatics has deep pockets, right? As deep pockets as it gets, certainly in the collectibles and in this hobby in the collectibles market. So the one, the fatal flaw for PWCC was they got a little bit greedy. They got a little overextended. They did not stay in their lane, and they tried to become a lender when what they were really good at was vaulting and providing a sales platform and taking fees. So they overextended themselves, got a little greedy, it sounds like, and this influx of Fanatics coming in to take over and acquire the company is going to solve that debt problem immediately, I would suspect. Fanatics will do whatever it needs to do to satiate the needs of the lender, to quell the fears regarding cash flow. Fanatics will put a huge, who's that fat guy that talks about that, what's that stuff that they put on the bottom of the boats, that black tape, and they put it on there and it plugs all the holes in the boat. Fanatics is coming. Flex Seal. Fanatics is going to put a Flex Seal over the money issues that PWCC was having. Bam! They put that black Flex Seal on there, and so we have no money problems going forward. That's what I think. So money will not be a problem. What will be a problem is that anytime there's a transition in ownership from a company as big as PWCC to a company as absolutely massive, which dwarfs PWCC like Fanatics, there's going to be some bumps in the road. So I think it's not going to be an immediate fix on the customer service. It's not going to be an immediate fix on the staffing, on the shipping, on all that stuff. So there may be a few more weeks, maybe months, I don't know, of transition where maybe leading all the way up to the national, where, Fanatics is figuring out, okay, what do we have here? Where do we go from here, right? So there's going to be a little bit of transition period. I also think that business as usual, I don't know this, but I would assume business as usual will proceed as far as people like me, us, people watching. Sometimes some of you guys use PWCC Vault as well. We'll still buy cards on eBay and ship them to the vault. We'll still send cards into the vault. I'm proceeding under the presumption that there will be no cessation in the business services provided by PWCC. The vault will still operate as it operates right now. You're going to see the PWCC logo on everything. The weekly marketplace, the weekly auction will operate the same way it does. You'll get my Monday PWCC Weekly Auction recap, at least for a few more weeks until they change the name. That's my assumption, is that it will be business as usual for a while. Again, albeit with a little bit substandard, probably customer service and shipping stuff. I also heard a rumor that now PWCC is shipping with USPS rather than FedEx. I don't know if that's true. Somebody comment below if that is a fact. If so, you can expect a little bit further delays because we know FedEx is probably a little bit superior to USPS as far as shipping time and turnaround time and things like that. The one other thing that I think will happen is that at some point they will rebrand PWCC. That four-letter abbreviation will no longer be used in, as it pertains to the vault and the marketplace, and it'll just be called Fanatics. So that's what I think. What do I hope? These are my hopes, right? And this is why I left my cards there, because I hope that all or some of the items that are on my hope list will come to fruition. So number one, I hope Fanatics will get customer service back up and running. Again, I think they had top-notch customer service before all this, and it's easy to get hyper-focused on and have recency bias. They've been trash lately. I'll be the first one to admit it. It hasn't really affected me because I mostly send my stuff there. My stuff's being uploaded at about the same rate, so my cards are getting uploaded and curated, so it's not affected my mail day videos. It's not affected my customer service experience with the vault because I've not had any special requests to fix anything. I've not had to use customer service. Where I do know that customer service has become a pain in the ass is if somebody had a problem or didn't get paid on time or something like that. Also, by the way, I'm getting paid on time for all my weekly auctions, even post termination of the mass exodus of the employees. I've not had an issue getting paid on the day that my PWCC payout was supposed to be paid. So that's one for me. We know shipping has sucked. Shipping turnaround time, where your outgoing shipments from the PWCC vault vault to third party or to yourself at your house. Those have sucked. So I hope that will get back on track in a matter of weeks, probably. You got to let Fanatics, it's not going to be instant, right? The Flex Seal is going to stop the debt issue. It's not going to magically create a bunch of employees. They're going to have to get in there. They're going to have to analyze the profit and loss statement. They're going to have to look at expenses, look at profits, look at profit centers, figure out how they can make it better and more efficient, figure out who to hire. They've got to interview people. They got to make decisions. They got to make offers. People will say yes. People will say no. They may pull people from other divisions of Fanatics to come in here and work with the PWCC Vault. I don't know. It's going to take some time, but we hope that Fanatics will get the customer service back to where it is top-notch, best in the business, like I think it was before PWCC. Fanatics will innovate and expand. Fanatics will do things that we probably can't even think of or haven't thought of right now. Most vaulting services are the same. You know, Collectors has their vault. Alt has their vault. Fanatics now has PWCC's vault. While the tech and the interface may be better, best, okay, worst. The shipping times may be best, okay, worst. The navigability of the site itself, the search engine, the organization, the timing of the auction, all that stuff. Fanatics, we hope, will innovate and expand and put some real thought into how to make PWCC better. Not just come in and go business as usual, but even expand it and make things better. And again, I don't have anything specific in mind, but I believe that that's a big company with a lot of intelligent people working there. They've proven, they've got a proven track record in the business of best in class, and I don't suspect that it won't take them long to be best in class in, as far as vaulting services and sales platform as well. Fanatics will keep the good from PWCC and listen to what the hobby wants when it comes to what did work for PWCC and what needed improvements. Again, this is what we keep talking about with Fanatics taking over for Panini as well, right? We hope that they'll listen to us, the collectors, the people within the hobby, the constituents of the hobby itself, about what we do and what we don't like. Now, again, they're running a business, so, you may not like sticker autos, right? But Fanatics it may be unavoidable, right? There's all kinds of stuff that we want. We want you to stop making so many cards, but do we know they will? We don't. So that's why I have it in my hope section. I hope Fanatics listens to the hobby, prints fewer sets, prints fewer cards within those sets, only does on-card autos, only does game-used jerseys, all the stuff that everybody else talked about. Well, these are also my hopes for PWCC as it pertains to their for Fanatics as it pertains to their acquisition of the PWCC Vault and the sales platform, that they'll take the good, they'll trim the bad, improve on the bad, and then listen to the hobby about ways to improve the PWCC experience, top to bottom. Less time to pay for auctions. That's one thing that I hope Fanatics will address. I believe people are given too much time to pay for their auctions on PWCC. So people would buy cards. They have 14, sometimes they were given more days than that to pay, and they would buy cards in the interim with the money that they had not yet received from PWCC. So what I'm hoping is that they'll give people less time to pay for their auctions so they can get cashed out quicker. Fanatics can get the money payments from the auction winners quicker so that they can pay out the auction consigners, the sellers, sooner, right? Because I'm taking, it's taken 14 to 21 days for me to get money from the cards that I sell in the PWCC weekly auctions. I love the fact that when I sell cards on PWCC, the money goes straight into my PWCC account and I can use that money to go buy more cards. I'm not like those other people. I don't buy cards that I don't have money to pay for. I wait until my balance in my PWCC account hits a certain number, and then I bid on cards that I know I can cover with the PWCC account funds. It would be nice if everybody did that, but we know in America specifically, and I know I'm talking to people all over the world, and by the way, amazing how many messages I get from people from other countries: Serbia, Australia, Canada, Asia. It's beautiful, all the messages I'm getting on Instagram here and there just saying they like the channel. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. So sorry, where was I? Less time to pay. Don't buy what you don't have in hand. Like if you don't have the money in your bank account and or in your PWCC account, don't buy the cards and then hope to sell cards and get paid and then pay for it later. It's called check kiting in the real world, but and again, it's not apples and apples, but you get my point. Don't buy what you don't have the funds for in hand at the time that you buy it, and you won't run into these issues. But what I'm hoping is Fanatics will step in and they will shorten the time you have to pay, and therefore increase or decrease the turnaround time from the time that you get a card of yours sold on the PWCC weekly auction to get that money into your account, so we can rinse and repeat and do this thing over and over. Basically shorten those delays. So that's one thing I hope happens. Fix the shipping delay. I gotta believe PWCC's recent issues with shipping have everything to do with the fact that they trimmed the overhead at such an exorbitant rate. They trimmed a lot of people. Some of those people had to be people responsible for putting crap together in a box and sending it out. That's just my guess. I hope that Fanatics will come in, they'll hear what we've been saying, what everybody's been complaining about. They'll ask PWCC's existing employees what they've been experiencing as far as complaints, and they'll say, people are saying we aren't shipping fast enough anymore. We used to be best in class, now we're worst in class. And Fanatics will say, okay, well, here's 14 people that are only going to be responsible for shipping stuff out really quickly and sending a tracking number ASAP. And so I would suspect Fanatics can jump on that issue, which is an issue, right? And it's creating a lack of customer confidence. I think Fanatics will address that issue very, very, very quickly. Another thing that I hope they do is that, along those same lines, I've had to stop listing my PWCC vaulted items on eBay because their shipping delays have gotten so long that PWCC won't ship the card from my vault to the buyer on eBay. So I'll be in default of my eBay terms of how quickly I have to ship a card. It used to be no problem at all. I put in a request when I sell a card on eBay. I put in a request to PWCC, ship this card to eBay authentication service. Boom, it's out the next day. They're not doing that now. So I've had to take all my cards that are in the PWCC vault that I had listed on eBay, and I've had to remove them from my eBay listings and cancel that listing. So hopefully they'll fix those shipping delays. I gotta believe Fanatics will do that quickly, but it's a hope, not a no. So I've got it in the hope section. I hope it gets fixed. And then lastly, I hope that Fanatics, when they come in, will retain enough of and I know there was some bad seeds in PWCC. I'm not naming names because I don't know really very many of these guys personally. The gentlemen at PWCC, the few folks at PWCC that I've had the pleasure of meeting in person, I always had absolutely exceptional experiences with. And again, this is probably a good time to say I don't have any ownership stake in PWCC. I do not get paid by PWCC, but I know a lot of other content creators do. And so shout out to those guys, Jeremy Lee, Rob, the sports card therapist. Those guys I think very highly of, and I respect in a great way because they're doing sort of some of the same stuff that I do. They do get paid by PWCC, I think. I'm almost certain. So hopefully, they can continue that relationship with PWCC. I did speak with PWCC about becoming a partner and having some type of sponsorship / partnership deal, like a few days ago. And I said, let's just let all this stuff shake out and we'll revisit the issue later. Again, I need to maintain autonomy, transparency, the ability to say whatever the hell I want. That's part of the reason that I don't get paid by anybody, is because I'm not going to be anybody's, megaphone. If I like something, I'll say I like it. If I don't, I'll say I don't. If it sucks, I say it sucks. If it's great, I say it's great. But what I'm getting at is another hope that I have is that they'll retain a couple of the folks at PWCC that I think real highly of. Jesse Craig is one. My interactions with Jesse have always been very professional, very prompt, very efficient, very responsive, and I've had great interactions with him. Tony Carley's another guy. I used Eric Myers as my rep at PWCC, and he's no longer with PWCC. He's with Alt, but he and I have always had a very open line of communication. I hope they retain some of the people with PWCC who understood the business and were productive members of PWCC who understand how PWCC got into the predicament that they found themselves in, and maybe lean on those folks for some ideas on how to get out and how to avoid that in the near future. But another thing that I hope and that I suspect is that Fanatics has got so many smart people and so many people, period, involved that they're going to bring in some real intelligent people who are going to solicit information from the current PWCC staff, especially the higher ups, and say, what did you do good? What did you guys do? What did you do well? Sorry, excuse my grammar. My wife would kill me. What did you guys do well? What did you guys struggle with? How do you think we got into this situation? And then they'll, gather that information. They'll process that information. They'll come up with a game plan on how to make PWCC better than ever. And then they will going forward. And so I'm in a holding pattern. I'm in a wait and see mode. All of my assets are in the vault. And you guys know it's a lot of what I own. It's a lot of what I plan to use as my retirement money. I spend damn near, I've got some money in the market like everybody else on the stock market, but I've got a large percentage of my life savings in cards because that's what I love. And I feel it's just a safe an investment vehicle it's my collection. I love the damn things. And so for better or worse, I've left them in the PWCC vault. I'm going to ride it out. I hope I'm making the right decision. I am excited about the news that Fanatics is taking over PWCC. That gives me a sense of comfort. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what you guys think, and keep the comments clean. Look, I'm not asking everybody to agree with me. You may think Collector's Vault is the greatest thing in the world, and it may be. I don't have any experience with them. I've had great experiences with PWCC. I am hoping to have great experiences with Fanatics going forward. There is going to be a period of uncertainty. There is probably going to be a few more weeks of pretty poor customer service, as it is when a bank gets acquired, as it is when any other, any tech company gets acquired. There's going to be a transition period where everybody's not going to be on the same page. It takes time to iron out those wrinkles, to assimilate, to transition, to synthesize the old with the new, to pick and choose the good and the bad, and then figure out what the game plan is going forward. It's not going to be an instantaneous. The Flex Seal is going to stop the debt issue, but the Flex Seal ain't going to stop the customer service issue right away. It's going to take a little bit of time. So if you're with PWCC, I would caution you to be patient. If you're not with PWCC, that's fine. This is just the way I do it. You see how I use this vault to grow my little adventure in this hobby through social media content creation, right? Without PWCC, I would not be able to make any of the social media videos that I do, or at least not make them as good, right? Without PWCC's vault, I would not be able to get in and out of cards as quickly and as seamlessly. I would not be able to share pictures of my cards on mail days on my channel as well. I would not have the peace and comfort of knowing my cards are safe in a vault with security, protected, climate controlled. I would be paying taxes on eBay purchases. There's a million things that are good about vaulting. But there's always going to be a segment of the hobby out there that would prefer to have their cards in hand. I get that. There's definitely pros to having your cards in your hands. There's no question about it. And the vitriol between vaulters and non-vaulters kind of reminds me of the vitriol and the hatred between collectors and investors. We're all in the same hobby. The one thing I would caution people is that a lot of people speak without knowledge of all the facts. I'll be the first one to admit, I don't have all the facts. That's why I tried to separate this video into what I know, what I think, and what I hope, and I've tried to be real clear on that. So I am hoping Fanatics comes in and crushes it. Maybe I'm an optimistic, naive dork noob. I don't know, but that's where I stand on it. Let me know in the comments if you guys are optimistic. I can't imagine it's a bad thing considering what the alternatives were regarding PWCC. We knew somebody was going to swoop in and snag it. Did you wish Alt was the one? Did you hope Collectors was the one? It is weird, and the one thing we haven't talked about is Fanatics is now making the cards. Fanatics is vaulting at least some of the cards, some of the biggest collections in the entire world, I know for a fact. Fanatics is going to have a weekly auction. Fanatics is going to have a premier auction. Fanatics is going to have a fixed price marketplace, and that's the one thing that we haven't talked about where I think Fanatics can really step in and streamline it. And I hope they solicit input from people like me and some of you guys watching on how to make that fixed price marketplace more viable and more fruitful and more relevant as a sales platform, because right now I think it's relatively dormant. People put items in the vault, they throw them on the fixed price marketplace for some exorbitant price, or they listed them on the fixed price, PWCC fixed price marketplace in like 2021, and prices are like half or sometimes 70 or 80% less than what they were. And so nothing is selling, and you can't make offers, and it's not the best of PWCC. So maybe Fanatics can take that fixed price marketplace and make it massive. So that's one thing we didn't talk about. Is Fanatics is going to have their hand in every single cookie jar, right? That's good. That could be bad. It just depends on how good Fanatics is at what they do. I don't think it's going to be a monopoly type situation, because you're always going to have competing sales platforms. You're always going to have, even still, you're going to have competing card manufacturers, right? You're always going to, at least in certain sports and certain genres, and you're always going to have competing vault services. So it's interesting. I don't know. I'm just curious on what everybody else's thoughts are on this takeover. I've actually decompressed and taken a nice deep breath when I did get notice yesterday that the deal, which I knew was coming, but I didn't know who was going to win the bidding war. When I found out it was Fanatics, I took a little sense of comfort in that. Again, maybe I'm naive. I don't know. Or maybe I'm overly optimistic. I've been accused of that, but I'd rather be overly optimistic than overly pessimistic, because the hobby's full of people like that. So let me know in the comments what you think about this takeover. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Again, you guys know I don't like to do these hobby drama, hobby news of the day, hobby updates. I don't do that crap very often, but since PWCC is so intricately interwoven into the content that I create and produce and share with you guys, and how I build my collection, I thought it best to at least get on the record and speak on the topic. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. As always, keep collecting, stay positive in the hobby, and peace.